ओम सर्वमंगलमांगल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थसाधिके शरण्ये त्र्यंबके गौरी नारायणि नमोस्तुते. Earlier classes we tried to discuss what Sri Ramakrishna had instructed Yam during his second visit to Sri Ramakrishna. Mainly actually that every time I repeat it is very important also, hence I repeat every time I start any lecture. Wherein Sri Ramakrishna says, to fix this mind on God, we need four things. One is Nama Guna Kirtani, taking the divine name. Second one is association with the holy man. Third is solitude. And number fourth is Viveka, or discrimination between the real and the unreal. So, we had discussed first two, the glory of divine name, and second, association with the holy man. Now, today, there are some more fundamentals to be understood to know the depth of divine name plus association with the holy man and a little bit of vichara. I won't go deep into vichara. I will fix myself today mainly to some of the fundamentals with regarding spiritual life. Very first thing, every time I repeat, this life is a life of experience. Though human mind and body is limited, just because this mind and body is limited, we should not bring down to the ideal to our level. So many times, so many sadhus will be speaking regarding the ideal and the spiritual life. I have heard many our own volunteers and devotees speaking, idella namgagala. These things are not for us. So, the very first comment should not arouse in the mind at all. That God Himself knows that we are not leading a pure life. That we know, Sri Ramakrishna knows. Why do you take that topic and discuss unnecessarily, commenting and discussing and gossiping, which leads nowhere? That everybody knows that our mind is limited, body is limited, we are in this world and world is full of Maya. Everybody knows. Why do you unnecessarily talk about the limitation? The very first thing, spiritual life is a life experience. The moment you are entering a ashrama, you read something, you take a divine name, you get initiated to a guru, and morning and evening you practice some sort of spiritual practices, and the most necessary thing is that we should have a clarity regarding the ideal. A clear thinking, at least on the thought level, we should be clear with regarding the ideal and the practice we are going to follow. Today or tomorrow or 1,000 lives hence, we may realize God. That is secondary. Realizing is left to Sri Ramakrishna. It is not our business. Our thing is a wrong person following the right path leads to bad results. A wrong person leading a right path leads to bad results. A right person following a wrong path also leads to bad results. So, in a spiritual life, only a steady and a true devotee can understand the glory of the divine. A steady and a pure devotee can only he can understand the divine name or the glory of the divinity. Hence, adhikaratva is the prime thing with respect to this life. So, before entering, I want to just read from the introduction of Raja Yoga by Swami Vivekananda, which gives the first insight to this life. Wherein Swamiji says, I read, if there has been one experience in this world in any particular branch of knowledge, it absolutely follows that that experience has been possible millions of times before and will be repeated eternally. The teachers of science of yoga, therefore, declare that religion is not only based upon the experience of ancient times, but that no man can be religious until he has the same perception himself. The very first fundamental thing for any practitioner of spirituality is a knowledge is the knowledge of infinity. If you say it is eternal, the experiences of the rishis who have written those experiences in the Upanishads, those experiences happened to the people before those rishis, is happening to all the practitioners, will follow to the persons who will follow in the future. Suppose Newton says the law of gravitation exists, it existed before Newton, it exists during Newton, it will exist after Newton. Apples used to fall from the tree before Newton, will fall during Newton, will proceed to follow even after the death of Newton. When you say a law, when you say a spiritual experience, that experience, I and you should have that. This is the basic thing we have to have while meditating, while taking the name of Sri Ramakrishna, while doing the prayer and doing prarthana in the Prarthana Mandir. And we cannot call him a religious man until one experiences this. So, always at the basic level, at the foundation level, anytime you sit before your Ishta, always have that knowledge that what I want to experience is true and real, which had been experienced by the ancient people, which I am going to experience. We should have this basic foundational knowledge while sitting for japa and meditation and bhajan, anything that you do with respect to your Ishta. So, we have the fundamental knowledge of this spirituality. Second thing, what we have as a tool, we know this body and the mind. Many times, while doing introspection, manthana, you see so many concepts which we have created itself is the obstacle for any true spiritual experience. In psychology, they bring in the concept of complexes. You have heard superior complexity, inferiority, all these are complexes. But speaking broadly, we have three complexes. One is the ego complex. Second one, the sex complex. I am a man, I am a woman, is a complex with respect to spirituality. And the third is a herd complexity. This has been defined in the psychology. You see, the attitude towards ourselves or oneself should be very clear. We always have a wrong concept regarding this and this, regarding this body and mind, this ego, this sex, and the herd complexes will create so many unwanted thoughts wherein you don't perceive the divinity, at least intellectually. We have at the fore end the ego, background we have the divinity. Just you see, The sun is so glorious, the sun having so much of light in itself, which can give life to the whole cosmos, but still a small cloud can obstruct that light towards this earth. In the same way, the ego, which stands between the consciousness and the perception, will limit the divinity. So, whenever we say spiritual life, it's a struggle to transcend majorly this sex complex and the ego complex. Until one has not grasped this struggle, the true religious experiences, or so-called the true spiritual life, never begins. We say a spiritual life only one has crossed the limitations, or we can say one can transcend the limitation of this body through the complexes of sex and the idea of this ego. We have very strong ego. Whenever there are some irritations in the mind, it is majorly only due to the ego. There are so many incidences. Every day if we do the introspection before going to sleep, we see so many aspects in our daily life wherein we are not at all ready to accept the reality. Rather, we are ready to accept this ego rather than that reality. Many times we compromise the reality itself, the truth itself, with this ego. We want this ego to be pestered by anybody and everybody, but not the truth. This is the experience of everybody on this earth, irrespective of his social status. So, even regarding the people of great saints, even Latu Maharaj expresses this idea to Sri Ramakrishna. The main problem with this complexes is, the more the complexes, the more clinging to this material life. The more we have the complex, the more we try to cling to this world. The more the complexes, the more the animal instincts that are in us gets manifested every moment of our life. So, usually when outside people, when you are working in an office or so many companies, we are engaged more objectively, less subjectively. There are less time to study ourselves, more time to study the object. Hence, we don't come across the different layers of the mind until unless we sit and introspect. You will try to understand this only when you give more time to your own introspection. Objectivity draws the attention towards this world, and there is lack of knowledge with respect to this subjectivity. Latu Maharaj, Swami Adbhutanji, once went to Sri Ramakrishna and said, "Sir, I have some sort of affection towards intoxicated this liquor, etc. So, whenever he sees a tavern means T-A-V-E-R-N, Madhyada Mane. Tavern, it is said, R is silent in that, so we spell it as tavern. Whenever he sees a tavern, he has some sort of intoxication in himself. This happened because, due to association of ideas, during his younger days when he was in Chhapra, Bihar, he used to see in his village so many people taking this intoxicated drink. So that association brings him the worldly intoxication in his mind, though staying with Sri Ramakrishna himself. Sri Ramakrishna cautions him, you try to avoid the very word called tavern in your mind. So, whenever this Latu Maharaj used to go to Calcutta, if he comes to know that a tavern is there in any particular road, he used to avoid that very road itself, and he used to leave 2-3 adjacent road and travel a detour a long way to purchase something and come all the way to Dakshineshwar. So, whenever we have, it's quite natural that we are in that complex, no doubt. So, whatever complexes, major complexes obstructing the mind, that we can understand staying in this world. Every day we are in this association with this world, we can know the weaknesses of our own mind. Then, the very first thing is that try to avoid externally. Internal thing is a far away thing. Basically and foremost, try to avoid the thing which obstructs or tempts you more externally. This helps to avoid later on mentally. This ego complex will lead more and more towards or away from the ideal. So, very first thing, you should have a clarity towards ourselves. How to have this? There is a wonderful Greek mythology, a story in Greek mythology, wherein there is one story regarding a monster called Sphinx. Thebes is the place where this monster called Sphinx stays. That place has no king, and one has to bring a king to that area. So, this monster is sitting on the throne and trying to test the people who wants to become the future kings. This peculiarity of this monster is, it is having the body of a lion, but head of a woman. Body of a lion, head of the woman. So, it will put one riddle which has to be answered by the boy or the man or the woman coming to the Sphinx. The question, the riddle is, what walks on 4 feet in the morning, on 3 in the afternoon, on 2 in the afternoon, and 3 in the evening? The person who is unable to solve this riddle will be killed. It will strangle their head, put it into the sea. Once, Oedipus by name, he comes to this monster and answers the question saying, man during his younger days as a boy crawls on all the 2 legs and 2 hands on all the 4. So, during his younger days, he walks on 4 legs. During his prime youth, he can walk on 2 legs. During his later days, older age, he needs a stick as a support, so he walks on 3 legs. The moment that the Sphinx heard this answer, the monster himself went into the sea and died. So, this Sphinx called the lion, body with a woman head, is nothing but the ego of our mind. This ego, the more we have the concept that we are this body and mind, no doubt you may have this all the 24 hours, no problem. But at least during your practice of japa, during your practice of bhajan, during your practice of prayer, at least try to bring the concept of the divinity. At least during those hours. This Sphinx has formed that the moment you say, it will ask the question, who are you? The Sphinx in the form of ego will question you. Who are you? If you are able to say, I am the son of Divine Mother, I am the son of divine Kali. I am the son of Sri Ram Krishna Paramahamsa. I am a bhakta of the divine trio with the Shraddha. The monster in you will be killed by itself. At least that moment, this word is so difficult to stay, I understand. Everybody understands that. But it is not necessary to depend or to meditate on the limitations. We have to always meditate on the divinity. There is no other way, no other way. Hence, the moment that ego, the moment that sex complex comes and asks you, who are you? Don't say, I am a man. Don't say, I am a woman. Ever say, I am a bhakta of the Holy Mother. I am a bhakta of the divine Kali. I am a bhakta of Sri Ram Krishna Paramahamsa. I have come knowingly or unknowingly with the divine grace to this life, which Sri Ram Krishna has brought me here all the way. Ever and ever, you say this, you say this. What Sri Ram Krishna says to Master Mahashaya, you think that you are the divine mother, you are the divine child of that Kali. You accept her. He says, there is no idol worship, there is no called Kali. These are all superstitious. He says, like Narendranath. Sri Ramakrishna says, okay, let it be. But I say, you take this Kali as your Ishta. Meditate on her. Take her name. She will give you whatever has to be given to you. Don't think of all those things. You take her, Divine Mother, there standing, that Kali. You take her and she will give what has to be given to you. That's why there is one wonderful passage which comes in Shvetashvatara Upanishad, which gives a hint for our meditation, which says, Swadeha Maranim Kritva Pranavam Chottaranim Dhyana Nirmatanabhyasad Evam Pashen Niguda Vat. So wonderful if you are able to understand it. This Shvetashvara Upanishad says, there is a churning between two pieces. The lower piece is this body and the mind. The upper churning is the Omkara. Through this churning between the Om and this body and mind, through meditation, what comes out? The hidden truth comes out. So, allegorically, it is wonderfully explained, you see. Omkara, we have to do japa. You repeat Om or you repeat your mantra. The mind is repeating that mantra. This is one side of churning. Second part is, he says, Upanishad says, meditate. How to meditate? The instruction is, one of the mind should be focused on the mantra, other part of the mind should be focused on the self, the Jivatman, which is pure consciousness. With this, go on doing steadily, persevering, then you will have experience. There are so many subtleties should be understood here, wherein it says, nobody at the moment is not ready to take the meditation of Nirakara, so it will asking us to take the help of Omkara or any mantra. Side by side, you should always have the concept of the pure consciousness or the self behind it. Taking these two as the tool, try to know the truth that is hidden within. Actually, Yatishwaranji Maharaj in Meditation Spiritual Life, so much he stresses, though you may take a divine form for meditation and the repetition of mantra, you have the practice side by side, meditating on the formless attitude or the concept or the aspect of the divinity. He stresses this point, have some 10 minutes, 5 minutes at the end of the japa to Meditate on the attributeless concepts or the aspects of the divinity. These are all, so many things are there. I have just hinted, but this will help to have a clear concept regarding ourselves. This ego and these complexes can be avoided. Only one can have a true concept beyond this ego. You see, even Raja Maharaj, while staying in Belur Mutt, he was the president of the Mutt. He has experienced everything with regarding to spiritual realizations. Even Swami Vivekananda has passed away. He has left the mortal body. Raja Maharaj, even during those times, used to sit in his room around 7 o'clock in the evening and get up from meditation morning 8 o'clock. What necessity was there for such a man, such a divine soul to meditate so much? He used to meditate for more than 12 hours a day. For a man of such genius, spiritual giants, and what to speak of ourselves. So, it is necessary for everybody to do these practices every day. Even it reflects in our day-to-day activity. Once in Belur Mutt itself, Raja Maharaj gives one test to his disciples, even to disciples of Swamiji. He asks what you know. He just asks everybody to bring boiled potatoes. When these disciples bring the boiled potatoes, he says to peel the skin of the potato. And he examines each potato to what extent they are able to peel the skin without removing the flesh. Then he takes off one potato and says, the person who has peeled this potato has attained perfection in meditation. That is, Sudhir Maharaj, Swami Shuddhananda, the disciple of Swami Vivekananda, who translated many of Swamiji's works into Bengali and who was also the General Secretary of this Ramakrishna Mutt and Mission after the era of direct disciples. Sharat Maharaj stayed a long time. After Sharat Maharaj, it was Swami Shuddhananda who took the seat of General Secretary in Belur Mutt. So, you cannot deny this word saying that taking the divine name, we cannot forget this word. This word is a wonderful thing wherein we can experiment all the aspects of divinity. Seeing the peeling of potato, Raja Maharaj is able to gauge the mental status of a sadhu. So, as Swamiji says in Jnana Yoga, this word is a suggestion. This word is a suggestion. So, whatever tendency that one has having inside this mind, that comes out in the form of suggestion to this mind, through this word. Is there too much of kama krodha? You will see the same thing outside. Do you have the concept of a bhakta in your heart? Same bhaktas come to you. Do you have the business attitude in your mind? Only business people come to you. You test yourself. This is a testing ground. That's why Swamiji Vivekananda has put this karma, yoga, even to sadhus. This we can understand only while practicing. Let it be, let realization comes, let it come thousands of years afterwards. I don't agree. But to understand ourselves, this one word is a wonderful experimenting place. Next thing comes, even one incident, there's a wonderful incident with respect to Raja Maharaj also. One Swami by name Swami Vijayanji used to stay in Belur Mutt with Raja Maharaj, Swami Brahmanji. Brahmanji was very fond of this flower gardening. He used to grow so much wonderful plants and trees. Even some of the mango tree existing in our mutt were sown by Raja Maharaj himself. These mango trees, some of mango trees are sown by Raja Maharaj himself. So, he instructed one Swami by Swami Vijayanji to water a particular plant at a particular time, morning and evening. He didn't instruct any spiritual instructions. He said, water that plant morning at a particular time, evening at a particular time. One day, it happened, some senior Swami, either Premanji or somebody, sent Swami Vijayanji to Calcutta for marketing. He went away, came back late in the evening or late in night, could not water at the particular hour in the evening. So what he did, at 10 o'clock, he poured 2 buckets of water to that plant, which Raja Maharaj didn't know. Next day morning, Raja Maharaj was just taking a walk at Belur Math. He saw those plants called Vijayanji and told, I think yesterday you did not water this plant at a particular time. Then he was astonished to hear this and thought, how come Maharaj could know this? Then he accepted and apologized. He said, Maharaj, yes, I could not do it, but I compensated this with 2 buckets of water at night. Then Raja Maharaj said, you could not follow what I said, then where is your brahmacharya? Raja Maharaj makes this statement, where is your brahmacharya? I was astonished to read these words. See, they give hints through these lives, we should be able to grasp that. He forgot to water a plant and Raja Maharaj making a statement, where is your brahmacharya? To become a true brahmachari, one needs satyanistha. Satyanistha in the sense of what? At least with respect to this material world, we are unable to follow an instruction given by our Guru just to water a plant. How come you are able to understand the subtlety of spiritual life? It is most impossible. At the grossest level, we are unable to understand our own Guru and follow the instructions. And how can we accept this mind to follow austerities and tapas for this spiritual life? No way, no chance. That's why the very first basic thing in this spiritual life, try to practice whatever practice that is we are doing every day, steadily, perseveringly, having the basic concept that I am divine. To that fundamental idea that one day I am having or going to experience that divinity within me, which our ancestors rishis have experienced, which I am going to experience. These 2 concepts are most important. So, there is one more story with respect to Bhagavata also. Once, a king calls a Bhagavat Pandit to do Bhagavata Parayana. Every day this Pandit comes and this king sits and hears Bhagavatam. This goes on for almost 2 months. Then this king says, Raja Parikshit could attain immortality within 7 days. He heard Bhagavatam just for 7 days, and even in introduction of Bhagavatam it says, whoever is able to do this Parayana in this Kali Yuga will attain immortality. I am experiencing or hearing this, doing Parayana for more than 2 months. I have not experienced anything till now, and tomorrow if you don't bring an answer for this question, I will put you to prison. So this Pandit was so much startled and had no answer to give. He came back home. He sat all the evening thinking what to answer the king the next day. Seeing the condition of the father, his daughter came to her rescue. She said, can you narrate what happened today in your kingdom, with respect to your king? He narrated what happened with. Then she says, tomorrow you better stay at home. I will go to the king and answer the question. Next day, Pandit, without any solution in himself, he sent his daughter to the king. She came, met the king, and requested, I have an answer for your question, but one thing that you have to do. You have to follow my instruction if you want any solution. Then this king says, okay, because I need a solution, I am ready to accept your solution. She says, bring 2 ropes. The king brought 2 ropes and asked the servants of the guards to tie the king to one pillar, to tie the daughter to another pillar. Both were tied to 2 pillars. Now this daughter asked, O king, please relieve me, please untie the rope for me. Then the king says, Dear daughter, I myself tied to this pillar, how come I can untie the thread which is been tied to you? Then the daughter says, in the same way, my father himself is tied to this samsara, and if he chants the Bhagavata Purana, and you being in this world, how can you gain immortality? The very concept that we are such a man, such a woman, I am she, I am he, I am a monk, I am a householder, holding on to such concepts is one meditates, how can we accept to attain immortality? The very first thing that ties this body and mind is this ego, the complex of ego. At least during meditation, if you are unable to draw our attention towards divinity and take out this concept called the ego, how can we accept anything beyond the ego? So, this tying the Raja to the pillar means we are always tied to these complexes. So, there are so many basic fundamental concepts in this spiritual life. Meditating, doing japa and doing so much prayer in prayer hall with so much bhakti, it's all good. But without having a clarity regarding thinking and thought level process, we attain very less which we want to expect. But there is one abhaya given by Swami Brahmanji Maharaj himself. He was sitting in Balram Bose's house talking with Master Mahashaya Yam. They were discussing with respect to Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. In the course of his conversation, Raja Maharaj makes a wonderful statement. He says, he goes to semi-conscious state, some form of ecstasy, and says to Yam, you see, Master Mahashaya, whenever there is an incarnation to this earth, a divine power is aroused. Whoever is able to come during those hours, with a little bit of spiritual practice, can attain immortality. With a little bit of spiritual practice, whoever comes during those hours, we are also very near, not just 100, 150 years, not too far. Swamiji says 1500 years, we are in the beginning. Whoever is able to practice a little bit can attain immortality. And then he says in the same condition, this time Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa has created a bridge between Jivaloka and Devaloka. He has formed a bridge. Anybody who is able to do little bit of practice can experience this. A bridge has been formed between Jivaloka and Devaloka. This is the abhaya given by Swami Brahmananji Maharaj to us devotees. So, he narrates one more experience. If people, how many of you who has visited Belur Math have visited Kalyaneshwar temple? Kalyaneshwar Shiva temple, I don't know. Have you visited anybody Kalyaneshwar Shiva temple? Oh, thank you. There, very few knows those incidents. There, Raja Maharaj during Sri Ramakrishna's period, they both went to Kalyaneshwara Shiva temple. It is just 2 or 3 kilometers from Belur Math, towards Bali Bridge. There, Sri Ramakrishna went to see the Shiva. It is a Swayambhu, not any form, it is a Swayambhu Linga. Sri Ramakrishna went into the Garbha Mandir. Raja Maharaj followed. In a moment, he sees Sri Ramakrishna in a divine ecstasy. Till that time, never Raja Maharaj had seen such a ecstasy in Sri Ramakrishna. He went to such a divine mood, and then he saw whole Garbha Mandir was engulfed with the divine light, and this Kalyaneshwara Shiva identified with Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. So, after having this divine vision, Raja Maharaj says, this Kalyaneshwara Shiva is a highly spiritual and evoked place. Bahala ಊರ್ಜಿತ ಮಟ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದಂತಹ ಅದ್ಭುತವಾದ ಸ್ಥಳ. So, whenever Maharaj was staying in Belur Math, he used to visit that Kalyaneshwara temple, Shiva. Even today, on every Monday, one of the monks from our mission from Belur Math visits the Shiva temple, offers bilva, ganga and fruits and comes back. On Shivaratri day, we are supposed to visit that Shiva temple first. After attending Aarti at Belur Math, all of us will go to the Shiva temple and then do a little bit of chanting, etc. there, and then come back to our Belur Math. Why I am stressing this is, everywhere that whenever that avatara goes, he evokes a divine power which we can experience with a little bit of spiritual practice. Here, Divine Holy Mother stayed for 3 days. It's not a joke. Brahmanji stayed for more than 3 months in that room. It is not a joke. And we need a little bit of practice. Based on divinity of ourselves, not on the ego, neither on the sex, not on the herd complex. Next, there is a wonderful conversation. I am just giving the hint, tidbits. There is a wonderful conversation between Balram Bose and Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. The first time when Balram Bose comes to Sri Ramakrishna for his darshana meeting, before coming to Sri Ramakrishna, he was an ardent devotee, a Vaishnavite, a very ardent Vaishnavite. He used to practice lot of japa every day and he used to pray at lengthy hours. Still, he had not experienced anything here. With this idea, he came to Sri Ramakrishna. So I am going to read the first meeting of Balram Bose with Sri Ramakrishna. The day following his arrival in Calcutta, he started for Dakshineshwar. There was a great crowd in the temple garden owing to the presence of Keshav Chandrasen and his Brahmo followers. Balaram sat in a corner of the master's room, and when the party went to eat, Sri Ramakrishna called him and inquired if he had anything to ask. You see, Balaram just sat in the corner of the room. Sri Ramakrishna knew what to ask with whom. That's why one of our Swami used to tell, not necessary to ask anything with Sri Ramakrishna. You at least go and sit before him, he will give what has to be given. Practice sitting at least in front of him. Balaram sat, Sri Ramakrishna called. Sri Ramakrishna himself asked, what do you want? He says, sir, said Balaram, does God really exist? Certainly, replied the master. Can anybody realize him? Yes, said the master. Whenever there is a depression in the mind, depression you have to experience, especially when you take this life seriously. So many times it comes. These are all the Abhaya Vani that one has to read. Yes, said the master. He reveals himself to the devotee who thinks of him as his nearest and dearest, because you do not get any response by praying to him once. You must not conclude that he does not exist. But again, interrogated. Even after saying this, Balram has doubts because he came for the first time. Why can't I see him when I pray to him so much? He says, why can't I see him when I pray to him so much? Sri Ramakrishna makes a wonderful statement. You hear, Sri Ramakrishna asked with a smile, do you really consider him, meaning God, do you really consider him as dear to your heart as your own children? Do you really consider him as dear to your heart as your own children? No, sir, said Balram. After a moment's pause, I never felt for him so strongly. The master said in an animated voice, pray to God, thinking him as dearer than your own self. Verily, I tell you, he is the most attached to his devotees. Do you need any vani or rather more than this? Nothing is required. He cannot but reveal himself to them. He comes to a man before he sought. There is none more intimate and affectionate than God. There is none more intimate and affectionate than God. Balram got new light from these words. Every word of what he says, he thought within himself is true. Nobody ever spoke to me so forcibly of God. So, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa is saying, whenever we pray, thinking he is the more dearest. Really, this is the question of our own mental perception. If I conclude that I don't have that dearness with respect to Sri Ramakrishna, it is only our mental concept. If it had not been there within me, how come for 30 years, 40 years, 15 years, devotees are coming to this ashrama? If you had nothing, then why you are coming here? Why I am sitting here? This itself is an indication there is something within me, within you. This make it strong, thinking that we are the children of Holy Mother, that divinity, that purity, that consciousness. Have that concept. Think that I am one day going to experience the divinity with that pray dearness, and then accept that dearness. So, these generally the experiences of the world makes us to forget these things. Many times what happens, a death in the family, a broken family, a fight between a husband and wife, fight between the children and their mothers or guardians, makes them to forget that God really exists. There are so many problems with respect to this worldly life. All these things makes man to forget God. But that is a challenge to the mind. Every moment we have to think during those hours, why is it that I lost faith with respect to divinity when such circumstances happened in my life? Then the very first thing comes, there is a lack of faith, lack of the concept of divinity within me, and acceptance of the God. Usually, we are not at all ready. The very first moment by starting this class, I told, everything we want according to our ego. Everything we want according to our ego. If you say, the God is omnipresent, almighty, omnipotent, then He knows what is best to every man. But the moment any disaster occurs, that very moment we say, God is not at all merciful. Because we focus with this limited body and mind complex called the ego and forget the divinity. Even, you see, staying with Raja Maharaj Swami Brahmanji, these things do happen. A devotee by name Kanjilal, he used to visit Belur Math many times. He has met all the direct disciples, even Holy Mother, and at a later part, actually he was a householder, later part of his time, he used to visit Belur Math every day, used to come to Raja Maharaj and do little bit of gossiping and go home. Then, he was little well-to-do family or some well-to-do family, had very less responsibilities, and now he thought of taking sannyasa. He requested Raja Maharaj, Maharaj, please give me sannyasa. Then Raja Maharaj told, already you have become a householder, then sannyasa is not possible for you. Sorry. Then he went on pestering Raja Maharaj. Maharaj, please give me sannyasa. Is there no way for me? Then Raja Maharaj says, being a householder, one thing can be done. You can take a kaula sannyasa. This is a tantric form of sannyasa, not with respect to Dashanami Sampradaya, which we take. Then he started pestering for this kaula sannyasa with respect to Raja Maharaj. Raja Maharaj said, no, this sannyasa is not for you. I am telling this story with respect to ego. Then he pestered Raja Maharaj so much that he got fed up and fixed one Amavasya day for the ceremony in Belur Math itself. Then he asked, I think, Ramlal Dada to perform the rites of doing Kali Puja at the dead of the night. On the banks of the river Ganga, I think near that Nilambar garden house, the ceremony was performed. It is late night, I think around 1 or 2 o'clock. The puja is finished. This Kanjilal is sitting, Ramlal Dada is sitting, performing the puja. Now the bali has to be offered. The moment that Shiva Bali was offered and kept near the worship place, from nowhere, 2 jackals to the size of a ram, Adu, Taguru antar Kannadalli, for the size of a ram, came from nowhere, dragged the Shiva Bali, put it into Ganga. This is considered most inauspicious with respect to puja. The Bali should not be touched by anybody, especially by jackals during puja. But 2 jackals came, they took the Bali, put it into water. Then Kanjilal became so depressed. Then he came to Raja Maharaj. Raja Maharaj said, I told you that you will not have sannyasa. In spite, you want to test the divinity, you want to test the divine mother, so she herself showed you that this is not possible for you. I told you, you did not agree. That's why I thought it's better you experience. Hence, I allowed this puja to happen. Then that puja did not perform and he could not take Kaul Sannyasa. Then, time over. Then, what he did, he left the very topic of this Kaul Sannyasa. Even after passing away of Raja Maharaj, later he came to Sharat Maharaj. He told the same thing to Sharat Maharaj. Sharat Maharaj told, yes, already you are experienced with Raja Maharaj. Anyhow, let us see. Then so many times they tried to do this ceremony, so many times they failed. Then I think they finally caught hold of Holy Mother and Sharat Maharaj together, and with her grace he took Kaul Sannyasa. Hence, the very thing is, first thing, spiritual experiences is for everybody. Second thing, this experience we can have taking the name of God through initiation, having the idea that I am a devotee of Holy Mother or Divine Mother, Mother Kali, etc. Then do the performance as spiritual practices, sidelining the concept of ego and sex at least during the hours of meditation. This, and having the faith in the Divine Mother or your own Ishta, practicing will lead at least a little bit of practice every day. Definitely, there are so many things to tell, but today we are already 6:40, time over. A little bit, definitely there are many things to experience. So, Thakur Swamiji have come mainly for this thing to this world. And these are all the experience of direct disciples and their disciples and our gurus. They have shown us the path. Let us have faith in them and lead this wonderful life. And forget so-called gossiping and limiting concept of this body and mind, which exists as long we stay in this world. There is no other way except taking the divine name. With their blessings, let us be holy and divine. With this, I conclude and thank you. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.